Today we will analyze the plot of the comedy 2004 Year Neighbor. High school students, shortly before the end of their senior year, are photographed for a commemorative album and write down the craziest things they did during their studies in a magazine. That's just the nerd Matthew Kidman has absolutely nothing to remember. The only thing that comes to the guy's mind is getting a scholarship from Georgetown University. But it's so boring. At the school meeting, Matthew, as the president of the school board, together with his friends and Lion Kim, tells the students that they have finally raised $25,000 so that a brilliant high school student from Cambodia, Sam Nong, could come to their school for exchange training. After the meeting, the trio looks with envy at the popular high school students who scored on lessons and went to the beach. Matthew decides to do at least something crazy in his life and is going to join the company. And friends refuse and return to lessons. Matthew gets behind the wheel, but he is immediately followed by a policeman who, in pursuit of a high school student, gets into a hard accident. Suddenly Matthew comes to his senses and realizes that all this is just his unrestrained fantasy. Returning home, Matthew meets the Petersons, friends, parents, and shares that he is rehearsing a speech for representatives of Georgetown University, who are ready to give a scholarship to a graduate with the highest moral strength. Later, Matthew takes out the trash and can't take his eyes off Danielle's hot new neighbor, who brings her things into the house. Going up to his room, Matthew notices Daniel in the window opposite begins to undress. Suddenly, the girl turns around and meets the eyes of a schoolboy. Soon Daniel enters Kidman's house to meet the neighbors. The girl says that she lives in her aunt's house during her absence, and her parents tell Matthew to show the neighborhood of the new neighbor. Matthew gets into the girl's car and drives around the area. The guy starts apologizing for the fact that he was peeping. Then the neighbor offers him as an apology to go out on the road and strip naked. As soon as Matthew does this, Danielle takes off and leaves, but soon returns and says that she was joking. The guys stop by a cafe, where Danielle says that she quit her job, would like to go to college, and also shares that she does not have a boyfriend. Matthew reluctantly admits that he has never done anything crazy in his life and adds that he would like to meet a girl who would help him in this. When Danielle gives a neighbor a ride home, Matthew does not dare to kiss her, although the girl does not mind at all. The next day at school, friends are surprised that Matthew got cold feet and did not dare to kiss a hot neighbor. Soon Danielle appears, who offers a neighbor to escape from lessons, and he happily jumps into her car. The two spend the whole day together and get to know each other better. Matthew also tells the beauty about Dao Dong, who, thanks to his activity, will soon be able to study at their school. Daniel brings a neighbor to an unfamiliar house, throws off his clothes, jumps into the pool and invites Matthew to do the same. The guy is nervous, but dives after the girl. The two are bathing and are about to kiss when the headmaster appears from the door of the house. Matthew, realizing that this could turn into big trouble, asks Danielle to get out of here as soon as possible. The guys rush to Matthew's friends who can't take their eyes off the hot beauty. Together they go to a party at the house of a popular high school student Derek, where most of the guys devour Danielle with their eyes. Hunter immediately starts flirting with the beauty, and Derek is going to escort Matthew home. The nerd realizes that he may miss his chance, approaches Danielle and kisses her hard, and his friends look at him with undisguised envy. The next day, Eli calls Matthew to his place and shows an adult film, where Daniel plays the main role. Matthew is very angry that a neighbor hid such an important detail from him, and a friend advises dragging a beauty to a motel and having a good time with her there. Returning home, Matthew is surprised to see that his parents show Danielle his childhood photos. The guy imagines how the neighbor tumbles with his parents and runs away to his room. Soon a neighbor comes in the door and asks what happened. The guy imagines what he can do with the beauty and calls her for a ride in the car. Matthew brings a neighbor to cheap motels, buys a bottle of strong liquor. Danielle understands that the guy found out about her interesting profession. The girl starts to undress, and then stops and asks if this is what the neighbor wanted. Matthew doesn't know what to say, and Daniel is offended and leaves. A few days pass, and Matthew can't get the beauty out of his head and comes to her house to apologize. Suddenly, a suspicious man with tattoos named Kelly appears from the next room. Matthew has to leave, and Kelly follows him and declares that he liked the guy's reverent attitude to the beauty. After that, the three of them go to a strip club, where Kelly says that he is a producer of adult films, and Daniel is his main star, and adds that they have previously met. A high school student tries to talk to a girl, but she coldly answers him. At school, children watch videos on sex education, considering it terribly boring and uninformative. Matthew tells his friends about his acquaintance with Kelly. After school, friends see that Kelly is looking for new talents among beautiful high school girls. The producer shares with Matthew that he would like to make an adult film right at the prom, which, in his opinion, should be a real hit. Later, Matthew and Kelly go to the bank, where Ginny's employee says that the high school student has finally collected the $25,000 needed for Samnang's arrival, and Matthew introduces Kelly as his mentor. A few days later, the producer takes Danielle with him to Las Vegas for an adult film festival, and the girl explains to Matthew that there is no escape from the past and that she does not belong in a new city. Friends, at Matthew's request, decide to follow the beauty to the festival. On the spot, Eli is going to film what is happening on a video camera, but he is immediately stopped by a security guard. The guys see Danielle posing in front of the assembled audience. Matthew tries to apologize to the beauty, but she does not want to talk and advises the guy to go home. Rich producer Hugo offers Danielle to work for him, but, of course, Kelly is not going to share her star with anyone. Matthew tells the producer that Danielle doesn't belong here. Then Kelly takes the high school student around the corner and in a threatening tone tells him to mind his own business. Friends offer to return home, but persistent Matthew is not going to give up so easily. While Matthew is looking for Danielle and like faces, they lie to a pretty actress that they are directors, and the girl begs the guys to use her in their next project. The guys want to take advantage of the situation and touch the beauty from head to toe, but her hefty friend Bull understands that the high school students are trying to fool them and rushes after them in pursuit. Matthew finds Danielle, holds a folded piece of paper in her hands and says that he knows what she really is and that she is better than this. The guy leaves, and Danielle looks at her own drawing, which she drew for Matthew in a cafe on the day they met. The next day, Matthew is rehearsing his speech when Danielle suddenly appears, who decided to run away from Kelly. The girl gives a neighbor a ride to school, thanks him for believing in her, and the two kiss. Matthew offers a neighbor to go to the prom with him, and she happily agrees. In class, Matthew continues to rehearse his speech when Kelly suddenly bursts into the classroom. An enraged producer takes Matthew with him and declares that he lost $30,000 because Danielle did not show up for the shoot. The student replies that he does not have such money. Then the producer hits him hard in the face several times, but then takes pity on the guy and gives him painkillers. Kelly declares that she will forgive the debt to the guy if he leaves Danielle and steals the statuette for the best adult film from Hugo, which rightfully should have belonged to him. The guy enters the producer's mansion and steals the statuette, after which he flees from the owner. Sneaky Kelly calls the cops to the scene of the robbery, but Matthew manages to hide in the thicket. The guy calls his friends, who soon pick him up by car, and then they all pick up Danielle together. Matthew begins to behave very strangely, and Daniel immediately realizes that Kelly slipped him ecstasy instead of painkillers. Soon the guys arrive for a gala evening, where Matthew and other applicants for a university scholarship will have to make a speech. The high school student is still under the influence of the pill. He kisses one of the competitors hard, dances stupidly and laughs for no reason. Matthew can't read his speech from a piece of paper, so he gives it impromptu. Moral strength means finding what is really important to you and risking everything for it, while looking tenderly at Danielle smiling. The audience applauds the student standing, but nevertheless the scholarship is given to his main competitor. The next day, Matthew comes to the bank to get $25,000 for Samnang, where he is horrified to learn that Kelly, under the guise of his mentor, has completely cashed out the bank account. The high school student asks Jenny not to tell anyone about what happened and promises to return the entire amount. Matthew tells Daniel about what happened to his friends, and soon they have a plan to fix everything. Danielle calls her actresses for help and helps Matthew meet Hugo. The guy returns his trophy to the producer and interests Hugo with a tempting offer. On the day of graduation, Matthew and his friends shoot everything that happens on several video cameras. The guys stop by for Danielle, where her actress friends are also waiting for them. All together they come to the prom, where they shock the audience with their spectacular appearance. Soon Hunter and his friends come up to Matthew, who recognize the guy's companions, since they had seen girls in adult films more than once. Matthew offers the guys to star in an interesting movie, and they gladly agree. Matthew gives the high school students the script, and Derek accidentally drops his consent to the publication of video materials. The guys start shooting all over the school, and Matthew returns to the main hall, where he dances with Danielle. Soon the head teacher appears and asks Matthew about the consent found on the stairs, but the guy pretends that he doesn't know anything. Suddenly, the crew has a serious problem, because Derek's device has failed from excitement, and no one can replace it in the key scene of the film. Matthew first wants to do everything himself, but remembers about the newly established relationship with Danielle and begins to doubt. Fortunately, Klitz agrees to play the leading role, and soon the guys in the limo with glasses of champagne in their hands celebrate the end of filming. Matthew and Daniel are left alone and make love for the first time. In the morning, Eli calls Matthew and screams in horror that the tape with the footage has disappeared. Returning home, Matthew sees his parents, the headmaster and Kelly at the table, who declares that they have an important conversation with the guy. Kelly takes Matthew aside and begins to blackmail him, threatening to show a tape with dubious video material to his parents. But the student, for some reason, just smiles. It turns out that the guys made a video about the sexual education of teenagers, who are much better and more exciting than what they are shown at school. Adults are strongly impressed by what they have seen. The video is quickly becoming popular and is being sold in huge circulations around the world. Matthew earns a lot of money and soon meets Nang in his hometown. Eli becomes a professional director, and Klitz is proud of his starring role in the video. Let the guy's face was covered with a mask, but the size of his device amazed everyone. Matthew pays for his studies at the university himself, and after the couples, a satisfied Danielle is waiting for him. How do you like the movie Neighbor? Share it in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you soon.